What's up, everybody? It's your boy Late Night Keefy at ghostcultmag.com. First live stream in a minute. I've been pretty busy and open about the fact that I've been suffering quite a bit of burnout so far. End of 25, beginning of 2026. What's up, Todd Rocks and Lone Skinhead? I'm trying to get TikTok to work, but appreciate everybody for being here. Shut the fuck up, TikTok, you piece of shit. Doesn't matter, US or not. TikTok, crazy shit. But anywho, all right, I think I got it now. So haven't live streamed in a minute, and I wanted to jump on and do a live stream about something. So I did a poll tonight in our community tab on ghostcultbank.com, and it seemed like the voting was going for the Grammys. I talked about maybe bringing Ozfest back, but I've actually been working on an Ozfest video for a year, practically, maybe a little bit less, maybe like 10 months. So I want to like finish that video and incorporate the new information about that. I maybe could have did a review of the new Pussifer, which I love. Spoiler alert. We gave it an 8 on the website. Raven669 is here. What up, what up, what up? Thanks for tuning in late at night. This is not the normal time I go live, but what is the normal anything these days? But anyway, I'm here, and thanks for being here if you're here. And the best experience for this is always YouTube on our various YouTube channels, Twitch, Instagram, where I'm also hanging out and watching, and let's see, Facebook. Anyway, run all the things. I'll be back later today. It's almost midnight here on the West Coast. I'll be back about 5 p.m. Pacific, usually there or abouts, depending on my work day, to do the weekly ritual, which is our weekly rock and metal news live show. We recap all the things of the week, the major stories. There's a lot of crazy shit going on. And this is one of them. So the Grammy Awards were this past weekend. And, Grammys have a sordid history. Do award shows really matter to metalheads and punks? Very self-congratulatory. But, we like debating and complaining about these things. Right, so November Official is here. What's up? And Ela is here, I think. And Robert Hood is here. So Grammy Awards happened. Some things were metal and cool. Some things were absolutely not cool. Just bizarre. And so, I'm here to talk about it. Because do the Grammys actually hate metal? I'm not going to lie. It's a little, I'm baiting a little bit with that title. But I think it's clear that they don't understand metal. And I'll make a point as to why. I'm not one of these people that's like, Metallica should play the Super Bowl, and metal, we deserve more respect. It's like, we actually don't. It's outsider music for outsider people. But at the same time, it'd be cool if we were treated with a modicum of respect. So I'm here to talk about that. I haven't been live streaming a lot. Like I said, been suffering a lot of burnout. I did a Megadeth album review a couple weeks ago. Seemed to be very well reviewed and received. We probably gave it one of the better marks of any of the major websites. I consider us a major metal website. I'm not just a YouTuber showing up and spouting my opinions. I'm a 20-year music journalist. I've done thousands of band interviews. I used to photograph bands all over the world. Ghost Cult is a global organization. We cover shows all over the world, metal festivals, everything. I spent time today planning no less than 4 festival coverages and 7 or 8 tours. So keep it to us for news and reviews and these live streams and everything. Applesauce, what up, what up? Oyoski is here. Sasha's here. Thanks for tuning in late. Tattooed Guy, 48, what up? So did a Megadeth live stream a few weeks back. I'm hoping now to just start picking it up again. Here's our live stream menu. If you're feeling tipsy, feel free to tip us either at any of the places you can tip us and or give us a super thanks or a super like. We recently launched a new live channel on YouTube, and eventually all these lives are going to live there. But I still like hanging out on TikTok and all the things. But there's the links in the description if you want to tip us. Exsanguinated, very cool band name. And Mimi is here. Thanks for liking the live. Anybody here that follows us, thank you very much. I love Fishbone. Anybody here that follows us, I will follow you back at the end of the broadcast here. So there's our tip menu. We're on Cash App. We're on all the things. I have another podcast. So in addition to my weekly live stream, which will happen tomorrow afternoon, Thursday afternoon, about 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. UK time. I also have the Glacially Musical Podcast, Beer, Metal, and Swearing. We are continuing our series on the solo career of Ronnie James Dio, at least the early albums. And we'll be back with a new episode tomorrow night with that. So there's our Cash App. So the Grammys, why are we talking about this? Do award shows even matter? Why are we talking about the Grammys? Because the Grammys, we want them to do, I have a long history with the Grammys. I actually met Grammy people when I was in high school. And I went to a predominantly Dio, all the way back to his Dio and the Prophets days. Nice work. Upstate New York, my home state. By the way, Cortland, which is his original hometown in upstate New York, the school in Cortland has his original microphone and microphone stand that they found in his parents' house when they moved out or moved the house out. So the Grammys, why are we here talking about that? Just like the Hall of Fame, some of these things are very congratulatory. Real metalheads don't need awards. We don't need halls of fame. But let's just talk about why the Grammys fail time and time again when it comes to heavy music. They just fail, and we'll talk about why. So this is kind of, in a way, a follow-up to a live stream I did, and it's on our podcast now. Hey, Lorna's here. What's up, Lorna? A ghost cultist is in the house over on the Instagrams. I did a show a while back about Rick Beato, who, generally speaking, I like. He's actually one of the few music YouTubers or content creators about music that has produced albums that have, you've heard. Stone Temple Pilots, Shinedown, a bunch of other bands, Marvelous 3, Lit, whatever, a lot of stuff he worked on. And, but also he always talks about metal being dead and it's rage bait. He's kind of a boomer. He has boomer takes. You can't compare metal bands to pop stars like Charlie XCX and Billie Eilish and Beyonce. They're just not apples to apples. You can't measure an underground art form like metal or punk, even the pop punk, is not at the same level on streaming platforms as the biggest pop stars in the world. It's kind of dumb, but okay. So I did a thing on Rick Beato. Here's the thumbnail. Rick Beato is wrong about metal. And that's kind of reminded me of the Grammys. It's kind of watching the replays of the Grammy stuff. I'll talk first about what they got right. And then we're going to talk about where they go off a cliff. And, by no means am I criticizing necessarily any of the winners. I'm just calling out into question what I see as a failure of them to understand the genre. And they have voting members from metal bands. So it's obviously political. It's obviously on purpose. It's obviously metal is not going to get a lot of a reaction. On the plus side, Spiritbox was nominated and lost, performed live on the show. They performed Soft Spine. I get no little amount of joy of watching Spiritbox play a song destroying Ronnie Radke, who was not nominated for one Grammy. I will also say, late in the year, it's murky about what the parameters are to be nominated. You see a lot of labels, not bands, but labels campaigning to get nominated, especially in underground music, because we are an X factor. We are an unknown. Oh, that's cute. The screamy people, the dark and scary people, But it was cool to see Spirit Box perform on the show, and they killed it, of course. And then the host, who I honestly have no, I have no basis for the host, but the host was like, "Well, that was fierce AF," and I was like, "Oh God, so cringy." Like, even Courtney heard the quote probably and was like, I don't know why he just said that. That shit sucks. But all right, fine. It is just what it is. If you're following us, anybody watching the show on the tube of you or Twitch, again, just like TikTok, we will follow you back at the end of the show when I get my bearings and do my little post-show review. So Spirit Box performed and they were awesome. And then the Post Malone tribute to Ozzy with Ozzy's band, basically his band from back to the beginning. Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers, I see Slash there, Duff McKagan, and Watt wearing like a full-length glammy fur coat. But, he's proven himself to be a pretty solid guy. I think we learned from those Ozzy documentaries late in the year what a close friend to Ozzy he was and how Ozzy and him had a really cute relationship. The tribute was nice. They did pay tribute to Ace a little bit also. It was nice to see that, although I have gripes with the in memoriam section always, and especially in a minute. So, Posty, he's a huge pop star, and he happens to love rock, and I think he's in his kind of country era right now. It'd be kind of fun to see him pivot to metal or rock. He's obviously played with Nirvana a couple of times, or a reformed version of Nirvana without Kurt. He's done covers of Alice in Chains. There's videos of him rocking out to metalcore and death metal and Biohazard, rapping along to Biohazard with Biohazard. Kind of fun. But I would make a case also that as much as Ozzy is the icon for the entire metal genre, he's more of a pop culture figure more than anything else. And he had won recent Grammys for his 2 last albums, with Post Malone also contributing. So I think it was like super interesting that, obviously, look, Ozzy has transcended rock and metal to like pop cult icon status. So of course they were going to do a tribute to him. That was nice that was in the works, and they were rehearsing and planning that, and it was cool. So I thought that was well done. Like, for what it's worth, at least they had something. That's nice. Youngblood is having a moment. Again, what constitutes eligibility for a Grammy? It's just like any other award show. There should be a sort of a finite point. Like an album came out here, a single came out here, nothing can be, credited. I don't want to be super cynical. Mimi writes, I knew that shit the moment he even considered doing stuff with Youngblood. Right. I knew, the cynic in me is like, of course, all these bands covered Black Sabbath and then put out Black Sabbath singles from their covers. Lamb of God did it. They're not nominated for a Grammy. Tool has been playing their Black Sabbath cover on tour, Hand of Doom, and in their late end of the year, beginning of this year tour dates, which I think is fresh. So Youngblood kind of really, first of all, the song Changes is about the end of Bill Ward's first marriage, and Youngblood killed it. It was really nice to see him win. And he won, it kind of got Frank Bello from Anthrax a Grammy Award winning, moment where he was on 70 Tons of Metal with Anthrax, played one gig, and then left the boat to go to the Grammy Awards ceremony, which is insane. So, I'm not mad at Youngblood. I know people feel like, why did they anoint this guy in any way? Why did he get, hey, Andrew is here. What's up, brother? Danzig 5, Hand of Doom. Exactly. But I'm just talking about the Grammys and just the relationship the Grammys have to metal, and not complaining, but just kind of noting why they don't get it right year after year. And I could easily go back to Metallica and Jethro Tull, but other times they also got it wrong. Like Motorhead won a Grammy for a Metallica cover, not one Motorhead song. Granted, like Motorhead is not, necessarily the first thing of mind when you think of these grandiose, greatest bands ever. But I think of Motorhead as one of the greatest bands ever. But again, award shows, Aerosmith and Suicide Boys, actually embarrassing, right? Give props to people if they have some fair takes, but he is taken. The Grammys don't like metal. Leonard, I agree, man. That's my point here. Black artists. Oh, of course, man. Of course. Like that's beyond the shadow of a doubt, as we're in Black History Month, that like again, a lot of people are like, rap music is white people stuff, stupid. But yeah, yes, High on Fire won. I agree, and I love High on Fire. Won Grammys, but again, there's a push. Don't get mad at bands. Like a lot, I know that people like bands. A lot of times don't even run their own socials. So like, there was a big backlash in like October, November for your consideration. If you're a voter for the Grammys, please think of Fit for an Autopsy on Nuclear Blast Records. And people like shitting on this band that has been like a legendary underground band for 20 years. And it really took them 20 years to make it. And, they're doing about as well as ever their last few albums. 100% Mimi. I agree. Motorhead is great. Awesome, Mimi. I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here and dropping those comments. 100%. So, good for Youngblood. I don't care about the word, industry plant is not a real thing for me, because in that way, every artist that leaves a band to go solo is an industry plant. So, like, people like to throw around hatred and dumb shit. Witness Metallica. Yes, we all saw Metallica and Jethro Tull, but like the Grammys just don't like. I'm gonna get to a point here in a second where I talk about like why they don't get it. But good for Youngblood and good for the people in the band. I'll shout it out in a second. It was like Nuno Betancourt, who I think has been nominated for a Grammy with Extreme and Rihanna, but never won. Adam Wakeman, Sleep Token's drummer. Sleep Token's drummer was the only Sleep Token member to get a Grammy award so far. And Frankie Bello, one of my heroes from my hometown boys in Anthrax. Anybody who's seen my vest, my patch vest, Anthrax is my back patch. So good for Youngblood, but also like, I don't want to, on one hand, it's like, yeah, he's a relatively new artist. This picture of him is from like Warped Tour 2019, before they went on the hiatus, before they came back. But that being said, if anyone wants to nominate Sunshine for a 2026 album of the year, hell yeah, brother. That's coming. That's possible. It feels like a capitalist stunt. Yeah, of course. I'm with you on that. So Youngblood, good for Youngblood, and good for the people who just, again, like, was it calculated? He did an incredible job. You couldn't know before the show what he was going to do. No one knew except the people making the record. Did his record label say, hey, let's record this, and if it comes out great, we'll put it out? Doesn't mean you're going to win a Grammy. It's very cynical and jaded to be like, it's a calculated thing. It happened last summer. We'll talk more about that too. Let me send you from birth. Yeah, brother. From birth. Yeah. We send me the promo. We're doing vinyl unboxings, a whole bunch of shit this year. We're stepping up our game. The Cure. The Cure has been nominated for a Grammy several times, definitely in their big era of the late 80s, early 90s. Band's been around for 50 years. Finally won 2 Grammys. This is a picture we captured the Cure at Riot Fest 2023, which I attended. And I've seen the Cure a couple of times, and I left early to go see Danzig headline on my birthday. Sorry, but like we still covered the festival. We covered the photo. We got photos. We got a review of the Cure's career spanning set. Good for the Cure. I'll talk about that. The alternative the alternative category. And Nine Inch Nails winning for best rock song for As Alive as You Need Me to Be from Tron Eras, one of my favorite top 5 records of last year. They didn't acknowledge it on their socials. They didn't come, even though they are in LA prepping for a tour. They did not come to, they have not acknowledged the win. They don't care. They appreciate their fans. They love doing the soundtrack. Trent has a very sordid history with the Grammys of distaste and dislike, and has slammed them. So a lot of wild shit. But okay, good for them. And then it brings us to Turnstile. And these Turnstile photos you're seeing associated with this live stream are courtesy of our homie Annie Atlasman. She photographed the band at a headline show in Greece that was like thousands of people, and the band put on an incredible rip-roaring show. And this is where I'm absolutely not picking on Turnstile. We love them, respect to them. Never Enough, great album. Is it metal? It's kind of punk adjacent, and punk adjacent is metal adjacent. if you start calling everything metal, nothing is. But like Turnstile is definitely not metal. Are they heavy as shit live? Are they fun? Are they righteous? Are they like, whatever you want to say about them? Like one of the highlights of the younger generation of bands right now. I saw that on the list of the 2025 music of Loudwire. Yeah, well, they are putting stuff out. But yeah, so these photos are from Greece where they're literally a headline act now. I wouldn't be surprised if they start headlining festivals. And they had their documentary came out at Tribeca Film Festival, extremely prestigious. I got to cover it before for Ghost Cult and other things. And so just, man, like, is Turnstile metal? So let's just take a second. I'm going to take a beat and I'm going to run down these winners in these categories. So like on one hand, Spiritbox playing on the show. Rarely does metal get to play live. So we had 2 metal performances on the show. Ozzy's tribute made the Osbournes cry. They're broken by all this. Youngblood was there to, accept his award. All the guys were there. It was really cool. If you like Jelly Roll, he won the best contemporary country artist. Country's a kind of horrible genre. Jelly Roll's pretty talented. And then he went on like he's solid. I was looking forward to interviewing him, and he missed the festival date I was at because he had laryngitis, which sucks. But anyway, let's talk about these things. So best rock song was 9 Inch Nails for As Alive As You Need Me to Be from Tron Ares, up against Caramel, Sleep Token, Glum by Hayley Williams, good solo album, but certainly like that more than the last Paramore album, which I did not enjoy. But okay, good for Hayley. Never Enough by Turnstile and Zombie by Young. All right, cool. Best rock performance was the aforementioned Youngblood victory. Changes live from Villa Park. Youngblood featuring Nuno Betancourt, Frank Bello, Adam Wakeman, and 2 from Sleep Token. Up against Amyl and the Sniffers, pretty good punk rock band. You Should Not Be Doing That. The Emptiness Machine from Linkin Park, big hit single from their comeback album. Never Enough Again by Turnstile. And Mirtazapine by Hayley Williams, also a pill I used to take. It's an anti-anxiety medicine. Best rock album. And this is where Turnstile won for Never Enough, which, like, okay, rock is better than metal in terms of what describes their genre. They won over, I think, in an upset over Private Music by Deftones. I Quit by Haim. I don't really consider Haim a rock band, maybe like an alternative indie rock band that has become big, but like certainly not rockin', in my opinion. From Zero, Linkin Park. Turnstile wins, and Idols, which was Youngblood's album earlier last year. And then here's like best metal performance. Birds by Turnstile, killer track, best track on the record, just about. And they beat out absolutely much more metal bands than Turnstile. Dream Theater, Ghost, Sleep Token, and Spiritbox. Spiritbox nominated for Soft Spine and losing. So, I don't know. Is Turnstile best metal performance? Is that accurate? I was actually really surprised that Ghost, Sleep Token, or Spiritbox didn't win. I didn't think Dream Theater would win. They have won a Grammy before. Best alternative music album. So here's where The Cure comes in. The Cure won both of these alternative categories. So there's one metal category and a metal band, as far as I'm concerned, much more closer to hardcore and pop punk and indie rock, but heavy. And they still play their earliest material live, their heaviest shit. But best alternative music album, Fable by Bon Iver. Cure, Songs of a Lost World, which technically came out, the awards were last weekend. The album came out in November of 2024. Don't Tap the Glass, Tyler, the Creator. Okay. Moisturizer by Wet Leg. I love Wet Leg only for coming out and like destroying Oasis and Oasis fans. And Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party, Hayley Williams, solo album. Again, much better than Paramore. And so The Cure won. And again, it's their first couple of Grammys ever. For what it's worth, feels a little performative to give them the Grammy. Randar the Barbarian says Megadeth. Word. I did a Megadeth review of their new album on my last live stream. Have not done a live stream in a few weeks, to be honest. Best alternative music performance. Again, Everything is Peaceful Love, Bon Iver. Alone by The Cure. Seeing Stars by Turnstile. Mange Out by Wet Leg, and Parachute by Hayley Williams. So, not for nothing, Turnstile, I'm not criticizing the band, but to see them nominated over like 3 or 4 whole categories, best album, different singles, best metal performance, just doesn't track. And it just feels like the Grammys don't get what makes a metal band. And again, like I know Sleep Token fans and Deftones fans are up in arms. They really got passed over. I think Private Music was easily an incredible album last year, and certainly much more metal than Turnstile, or what is metal. I'm not trying to gatekeep things. I'm just trying to say, if you're going to have an award show, understand what the metal bands are doing and what they are. What constitutes a real metal band? If you wanted to give the alternative music awards to The Cure, then say that. But really, Turnstile should have won for those categories, and one of the metal bands should have. Now we're down to one metal category, not best metal song, not best metal album, just best metal performance, whatever the fuck that means for a single song. And not to give it to a metal band is weird to me. And then the real band. So that's not, I'm not mad about it. I'm just confuzzled. Do you get me, people? I'm just confused. But okay. And then this shit. So again, the In Memoriam, you had Roberta Flack, very, hugely inspirational female singer from the 70s. D'Angelo died, super inspirational artist from the last 30 years. And then they, the In Memoriams. And then they leave out my man, Dirty B, Brent Hines of Mastodon, who has won a Grammy. They were nominated for 3 Grammys and won once. And to not have him in the In Memoriam is insane to me. Should they at least not be tracking who has won a Grammy in the past, and if they passed away, to mention them? It would have took a second. Just embarrassing. For music's biggest night, that's to me kind of unforgivable. There are other ones people were mad about, like the Grateful Dead not being mentioned. They won a Lifetime Achievement Grammy. Some comments in this live on TikTok were filtered out to protect the community's experience. As always, someone in the comments is being a jackass. Dillinger Compound is here very late at night. What's up, brother? I'll be back tomorrow with my weekly show. I'm just complaining about the Grammys and their overall failure to understand metal fans, the metal genre. I like Turnstile a great deal. I bought that album. I'm really a big fan of them and what they do, but also to not have a metal band win the one Grammy award that is actually for metal is insane. And again, the slight to Mastodon hurts my feelings. New Mastodon album this year surely will probably get nominated again. Maybe they will win. I hope they dedicate it to Brent. And then again, here's this huge Turnstile live photo I just wanted to bring up one last time. Pretty damn amazing. And, surely one of the biggest bands right now in modern heavy music. You want to call it all heavy metal? You want to call it punk and metal all under one big congealed, horrific Jello mold with fruit in it from the 70s? Sure. No shade on you, Turnstile. I just don't think the Grammys should be giving bands that are not actually metal a metal award when there's only one left. I will be back in about 17 hours. Here on the channel. Follow us at Ghost Cult Mag, at Ghost Cult Mag, at Ghost Cult Live, at Ghost Cult Keepy666. Give us a follow. Check us out at ghostcultmag.com for news and updates. Follow our socials, all those things. I appreciate you hanging with me late night. Thank you, Mimi. Thank you, Dillinger Compound. Thank you, Andrew. Everybody that's a homie. I'm grateful. And I'm out. I'll be back tomorrow. Much love to you all. And more to come on this and more. And all the drama of the week in rock and metal later today. Thank you, CBA Hood TV. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Peace out. Grammys, do better or don't do any, might as well liked it better when they didn't have any metal at all on the show. And then at least I felt better. But all right, I'm out. Peace.